Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Ben Olmos, business leader, entrepreneur, media founder, more than 30 years of experience in the consumer packaged goods industry, working with both Fortune 500 companies and emerging brands. And now he is building a media company himself from zero in public. And so we learn from him why leaders plateau, how to build high performing teams, and what founders get wrong about growth and execution. Welcome to the show, Ben.
Oh, well, thank you very much, AJ. I appreciate it. It's good to be here.
You're welcome. Welcome to the show, Ben. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of business leaders, startups, and a lot of people will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about leadership, we'll talk about startups, and we'll talk about scaling. We'll talk about much more, but before that, let's talk a bit about your journey, your background, your story, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
Yeah, well, very good. So I will start like this. I got into business a little over 30 years ago in the consumer packaged goods industry. I actually started working with Coca-Cola, but surprisingly enough, when I started with Coca-Cola, I had no college degree. I hadn't even gone to college yet. So I was very young, but just was not something that I ever did. Primarily because school was not always my friend when I was in high school. I like to say I passed all my classes on the way to my car. I wasn't the best student, but when I got to Coca-Cola, I saw there was opportunity there. I went back to school, ended up doing my undergraduate degree. I got my MBA, actually got my PhD in business administration as well. And I've been working in the consumer goods industry for over 30 years now. I've also been an academic professor, teaching everything from undergraduate to doctoral level students, and have been doing that for over 20 years. So I've been doing both careers at the same time. And about 3 years ago, I decided to start a media company. And I wanted to merge those two things, my two passions together, which were business and academia. And, I enjoyed writing. I enjoyed content creation and podcasting and things like that. So I thought I would put a business together to really help, our underlying mantra, help managers, leaders, and entrepreneurs get better at what they do. And so I try to bring a little bit of the classroom as well as a lot of the business side into the things that I do and into the content I create. So that's kind of what launched the business.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll certainly talk about your business, this media, and also about other things that you are doing. But first, to understand, a lot of this landscape today is very fast moving. Even in startup, you see, and even in bigger companies, they have their own bandwidth, depth, but as well as challenges that they are facing, especially in terms of leadership. Amidst all these things, and people generally say that people with vision, their own startup ideas, they are more closer to their business. They know what is right, what is wrong. Amidst all these things, what is it that you bring for them? How should they understand what Ben is trying to tell them, from which they can learn from any part of the world?
Yeah. So, I start the book off by talking about leadership. And oftentimes when we go to work, we think that, if we just did more, if we worked harder, if we advertised more, if we sold more, that it would solve all of our problems. And, the thing is that, hard work and effort is important in business for sure. but it gets to a point where you don't get the returns just by working harder. You have to work smarter. And working smarter is about developing systems and understanding workflow in a way that really helps to improve. And so what I try to do in the book is create lessons around topics that help people focus on different aspects of running a business, whether it's leadership or marketing, sales, even getting into a little bit of AI. Kind of developing tools and strategies that help people improve on what they're doing. And so, one of the things I talk about in the book is just, creating better systems so that you get your information flow through better. And one of the things I talk about, I actually teach this concept in a lot of classes I have, is business is really about four core things, right? It's trust and communication, processes and routines. And you have to have trust to have good communication, and you have to have uh, uh, kind of fearless communication to build trust, right? You have to be a little vulnerable. And when you have good trust and good communication, you can then start to build better relationships and better systems. And the processes and routines, processes are those things that make sure that anything that comes into our business has a place to go, so that people aren't running around trying to just figure things out or trying to solve problems as they come. When the problems come in, they have a place to go, right? So you have your processes, and then your routines are those things that are predictable, the things that everybody knows are going to happen. Every week we're going to have a meeting, we're going to do a sales call, we're going to review numbers, we're going to hold people accountable to performance. And making sure that those routines are in place really, I think, helps to build just the core foundations of business.
Absolutely, absolutely. So when you talk about better systems, does it people generally understand better systems when nowadays, especially AI, bring more AI, bring more automation. And a small of, when startups and small businesses, when you talk about, a lot of them believe that they have to be in touch with their customers. Customers are the key for them. That direct approach has to be there. How should a startup or new business, understand this part of, best systems that you talk about?
Well, here's the thing: when it comes to building a business and when it comes to building processes and routines, you really have to have a good workflow first before you try and scale with more customers. And the reason why is, sometimes people will go into it thinking that, well, if I just have some better software, then it's going to solve my problems. But a lot of times, all software does is accentuate all of the problems that you have in the business anyway. So, the solution really isn't just getting a better software program. The solution is making sure that you have good processes in place, for managing customers. So, if you start to scale with customers, but you never do good follow up, if you never understand what the customer's needs are, if you're delivering a poor product and you're not really focusing on that quality, all of that stuff is going to come through, and it's only going to come through faster as you scale and try and fix it with software. So, it's really important to make sure that you have a good foundation in place, so that you can grow. Otherwise, as you grow, two things are going to happen. You're either going to throw money at the problem, or you're going to throw people at the problem. People are money and cost anyway. But either way, you're just driving up the cost of the business. You're lowering your margins. You're reducing your profitability, and all of that just makes the business suffer longer down the road. So, one way or another, it's just something you got to have to face.
Absolutely, Ben. So how are you building your company, this media, if I understand correct?
Well, so kind of taking a clue from what I've been talking about, I have not really been focused on profit or revenue as I've been building this thing. So I've been building it over the last couple years, And what I've been focused on is everything that I've done, I've built myself, from the website to, engaging in all the social marketing campaigns, most of the content that we have up on the website, all the podcast editing, uh, distribution, everything that goes on there. All of it has been handled by me. Now I do have a board of advisors, but really what I've been trying to do is understand social media marketing, and really, kind of media at large. So the business has really been focusing on one, understanding what it means to create reach. So one of the stories I like to talk about is the fact that, when I first started doing this, I had known about the concepts of search engine optimization and keywords. And, people make it sound very easy. Well, if you use good keywords in an article, then the article is going to get noticed on Google and that'll bring traffic to your website. And nothing could be further from the truth. Because aside from having a good keyword, you also have to worry about things like domain authority. So even if you have a good keyword that you embed in an article and you think that you've done a really good job writing something, if other people are dominating that keyword or dominating that article, they have more experience, they have more content, they have more domain authority. It doesn't matter how well you've used that keyword, you're still not going to rank. And if you're not in the first 10 results, and I'd say the first 5 results on Google or any search engine, you're just not going to get noticed. So a lot of the work that I've been doing has been figuring out, how do you get noticed, right? How do you build an audience? Because we started from absolutely nothing. We had no web page, we had no followers, and I kind of did this on purpose because I wanted people to kind of listen and learn how difficult doing some of this stuff can really be. Um, we started a podcast to chronicle our business. So if you go back to episode 1, you'll hear my very first meeting with my board of advisors. And, the first 20 or 30 episodes of the podcast really just kind of talk about starting the business from the ground up. And then in the latter half, we've really gotten into doing more interviews and talking with business leaders and entrepreneurs and people who are experts in their field. And that has really been, kind of a new context to things. Um, Along with that, we've also been focusing on building our YouTube presence. So our goal right now is to have 100,000 subscribers by the end of 2026. And we just broke 12,000 today. So, we're on a pretty good path. We add anywhere from 150 to 200 subscribers a day. But if you do the math from where we are today, this is a live show. So from where we are today, I'm not going to hit 100,000 subscribers unless I do something different, unless I do something more. So, and this is all kind of part of the fun and the journey of figuring this stuff out, is figuring out what works and how to scale and how to get people's attention. And, I try to take people along that journey with me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's talk about the other aspect that you talk about, meaning in business, meaning in life. So, how should people understand meaning, or you want people to understand meaning in their careers and business? What does meaning mean to you in your business then? Because for people, you start thinking that your meaning is money, and then you find that it did not doesn't have the same meaning. It's a lot of shifting of goalposts for an individual at different points in time. That's why I asked this question. Then.
AJ, that's a tremendously beneficial question for a lot of people to understand. So, you know, uh, it is important that whatever you choose to do, that there's a purpose for what you do. And, we have really rallied Dist Media around this idea that we are going to help managers, leaders, and entrepreneurs get better at what they do. Like, that is our overarching goal. And that is our purpose for what we do. I think every business and everything that you engage in should have a purpose. You should also do the work that you're doing with people who you trust and you respect. Before you even think about money, before you even think about profit, have a purpose. Because if you have a good purpose, the money will come. If you do good work, do good quality work, the money will come. When you put money ahead of purpose and meaning, it starts to kind of dilute and erode the purpose for why you exist. And when you put just money ahead of everything, it starts to become work. I have a great amount of joy doing the stuff that I do, primarily because I don't, I mentioned this when we got started. Like we really haven't made much money yet at all. Now, if dist media was the only thing that I did, I'd be in trouble. So, but I do other work outside of this business, and but even that work, I work with people that I trust and respect and enjoy working with. Something I didn't mention, part of my PhD is I have a concentration in industrial psychology. And my dissertation work was focused on positive psychology. And in that work, what I did was examined how people benefit from positive psychology and well-being in the workplace. And one of the frameworks that I talk about in my dissertation was this concept of PERMA. PERMA was developed by Dr. Martin Seligman. It's an acronym that stands for positive emotion, engagement, relationship, meaning, and achievement. And these kind of the five building blocks of positive psychology and the five building blocks of positive emotion. And when you satisfy those elements of positive psychology, it improves your overall well-being as an individual. So I try to incorporate that into the work I do, and kind of keep that in focus, and not chase money and not chase titles, but really focus on the work for the purpose of doing the work and what it's going to benefit.
Absolutely, Ben. So, where do people understand or learn about meaning and purpose? Is it from the Fortune 500 companies? Is it from the startup founders who have not succeeded? Or is it from the startup founders, who have succeeded immensely by, selling out to those people who are, who want their company for their own and closing that down? Help us understand then, where do you find meaning and purpose, especially when somebody is starting out as a business, as a career?
Well, so here's the thing, AJ. I think that when you think about everybody's meaning and purpose is going to be individual to them. So number one, I think you have to have a really clear perspective on what you individually are trying to achieve for your own life. Um, a lot of people define success and wealth differently, because success and wealth isn't always tied to money. Now, when you're building something and you don't have a lot of money, it's a lot of what you think about. But any good business that I've worked with, and I've had the opportunity, because in my career, I spent 20 years working for Coca-Cola. I've spent several years after that, about 10 years now, working in the wine industry. I've met a lot of really significant leaders. I've worked with a lot of big companies, Disney, Walmart, McDonald's, a lot of really big customers. And the leaders that I've met in those companies, the ones who are the most successful tend to be the ones who have very grounded understanding of what's important in their lives. That it's not all about work, it's not all about money. They happen to be talented at what they do, and they happen to have gotten to a really good place in their career, but they don't consume themselves with that. They keep a perspective on what's important outside of the business, and things like your family, your children, your relatives, your mother, your father. those are the things that keep you grounded, right? So meaning and purpose has to be first defined by you, and then you should do work that you enjoy doing. You should run a business that is your thing. That is your joy. If you're doing things that you don't enjoy, it's going to feel like work. You're going to have to work harder. You're going to burn out faster because you're not doing the things that bring you joy in your life, right? And um, I think when you're young, you don't worry too much about that stuff. But as you get older, if you haven't chased all your good relationships away by chasing money, you'll find that those things that you kept grounded, become really great rewards as you get older.
Absolutely, absolutely. That brings me to the leadership part. That nowadays a lot of leadership is about titles. You get a designation, you get a title, and you are a leader. You lose that title, you think you have lost everything in life. And then you also talk about, that a lot of leaders plateau. Why do they plateau when they still have the title? And why do they feel missing everything when they don't have the title? Miss, then there is a problem somewhere else. You are unhappy. Because you are unhappy, how do you resolve this dilemma for such leaders?
You know, AJ, as you're talking about that, I think about the fact that you don't get to decide that you're a leader. Your followers decide that you're a leader. So the people who decide that they think they're a good leader. I do this when I teach class. I say, how many people think they're a good manager? And I only get a few students who will raise their hand and think they're a good manager. And then I'll say, how many of you think you're a good leader? And oh man, just about everybody's hand goes up. They think, and that is such a self-appointed title, leader. But how do you prove you're a good leader? The proof of leadership will be in the people who follow you, and they will have a purpose and a meaning behind why they follow you. Uh, when you ask other people whether you're a good leader, then you will know you're a good leader. Has nothing to do with your title. Has nothing to do with how much money you make. It has nothing to do with any of that. A true leader serves the people whom they lead. They are a servant leader. They help to, I always say, you want to surround yourself with people who want to see you do well for your sake, not for their own. And that's what a leader does. A leader makes sure that their people succeed and move up and beyond where they are. A leader doesn't hold people back or keep people down. A leader looks for getting the best benefit out of everything for the good of the people that they are trying to improve their lives. So the notion that you have a title or you hold a position in a company makes you the leader. Uh, what it does is it makes you responsible if something goes wrong, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're a great leader. I've worked for a lot of people who had the title, but were not good leaders. So it's clearly not based on just the title or how much money you make. It really is based on how others perceive you and how others endorse the things that you do.
Right, right. For a startup, Ben, do you think there is something to learn from the big companies, or big companies they walk their own lane and there is not much to look up to them except for the success part of it? What is your suggestion, or am I? Tell me if I'm incorrect.
Well, I think every startup, every entrepreneur, everybody who is looking to start a business, I think you should try to go work for a big company for at least a few years, as long as you can tolerate it. And the reason why is big companies are big for a reason. They're big because they pay attention to things and focus in again on workflow and processes and ways of doing things that got them to be big. You know, and you will learn more about how to run a business by working within a big business. Then when you venture out on your own, you'll have a better understanding of, just project workflow, hiring people, managing people, setting goals, setting objectives, performance management. Most small businesses focused a lot on the product, the sales, and it's only later after they grow that they start looking at performance management and metrics and holding people accountable and doing all of that kind of stuff. You really have to, kind of understand how those things work. Um, and then, build a big thing. And it's by the way, this isn't to say that you have to go, work for a big business first. I'm just saying it's beneficial for you to understand how big businesses work. Then you can kind of bring in your own thing. And you don't have to copy everything the big business did. You can still, make it your own, but I think there's quite a bit to be learned from big industry.
Absolutely, Ben. My last question to you is to understand. See, you have worked 30 years plus, in the big companies, 500 Fortune 500 company with all that experience and understanding of everything. Now you are building your own company. Where is it that you want to reach with what you are doing?
That's a very good question, and I wish I could tell you like I had this real confident answer about what I hope this thing becomes. We're really focused right now on just building a community of thought leaders. I think there are a lot of people in the world who are interested in either starting a business or getting better at business, getting better at social media, at leadership. Um, and my goal is to just try and connect with those people who are really serious about it. Here's the thing about me is that I keep myself very busy. I've told you even this business I've started is kind of my third job, right? My first job, I work most of the day. My second job is teaching, and I do that for a number of hours a week, and then I fill the rest of my time doing this. I'm very driven by the things that I want to do and I want to accomplish. And so I I have had the privilege of working with other people who are like me, who are like-minded that way, and it's funny, one of the things I often say is um, when I'm coaching someone, I say, I want to hear it 3 times. I want to hear it when you think about it. I want to hear about it when you start, and I want to hear about it when you're finished. But I don't want to keep hearing about how you're thinking about doing something. I don't have time to listen to story after story about you thinking about doing something when I am focused on execution. So, if you find that you're that kind of person that you want to execute, you want to be around like-minded people like that who are visionaries and entrepreneurs and have that spirit within them, go to my website for my book. It's benolmos.com. Uh, I'm giving away the first chapter of my book for free, so you can download it there. And when you download it, you'll be put on my mailing list. And I'm actually putting a community together. It's called the Daily Pitch Community, and it's very limited. Only open to I only open up a few seats at a time. We're just getting started, so you know, don't have a lot of people in there yet. But I'm trying to rope in a lot of my uh, professional contacts I've made over the years, people I've done podcasts with, to all kind of be part of this thing. And we're all going to learn together. So right now, my ambition is to build a bigger, stronger community that's kind of focused on all of this stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you talked about your website. What's the best way still for people who would want to connect with you directly?
So there's two ways. My book website, which is kind of showcases that, it's benolmos.com, BENOLMOS.com. And then the podcast and a lot of my writings and a whole library of things that I've written are on the Daily Pitch. It's dailypitch.news. And that's really where I kind of, write articles, and, I have guest contributors that come in every once in a while. That's where you'll find the podcast and all the wonderful guests that I get to talk to. We just dropped an episode last night with a gentleman who used to work with one of he's a sitting Supreme Court justice here in the United States, but he used to work in the same law firm as him, and knew him before he became a Supreme Court judge. So talked to a lot of really interesting people who are building things. So that's kind of how you kind of get into my atmosphere.
Absolutely, absolutely. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.